All right, I've been waiting for this all week, Michael, because you've been very quiet about Tim Walz. I've seen no comment from you, no social
Yeah.
media, and I wanted to finally give you a platform to tell me what you think about this pick of Tim Walz because, like I said, you've been holding it in, I think partly because you wanted to wait until you got an opportunity on the show to express yourself.
Yes. No, I suppose I have. If you haven't seen my thoughts on it, it's because there was a Michael-shaped hole in the wall as I was dancing around through buildings when Kamala picked him. This really could not have turned out better for the Republicans, of course. We were wondering, is she going to pick Shapiro, which I thought would have been pretty good for the Republicans.
Great.
Look, Shapiro, he might have brought Pennsylvania along, but I just knew that the Democrats at the moment bear greater disdain for a certain ancient nomadic tribe than they want to win Pennsylvania. So you knew it was going to be a problem with the Intifada wing of the Democrat Party. Then I thought, okay, maybe she's going to go with Mark Kelly. Mark Kelly actually might be kind of tough to beat. He's got a good story. He's an astronaut. Maybe the Dems aren't going to pull Arizona, but still, it looked pretty good. But no, she goes with Tim Walz, who originated the weird slur against J.D. Vance, and yet Tim Walz is known best for allowing Minneapolis to burn down on his watch and putting tampons in fourth grade boys' bathrooms when he was governor. So I think this is about as good as it gets. Can we get 5 VP debates, please?
You know what the thing is? I know that they've coined the phrase weird. Here's what I think is weird, and I mean this in all sincerity. They met for the first time last Sunday.
Yeah.
Okay, at the vice president's mansion. And think about the implications of this, right? He's going, if she were to win, he'd be one heartbeat away, the governing partner for 4 years and potentially, run for president off of a 30-minute meeting. Now, you think back, like even when McCain picked Sarah Palin, right? There was a series of meetings where he was trying to get to know her or something. But the idea that this came down to it's like an arranged marriage. It's like speed dating where it's like, hi, my name's Tim Walz. I'm the governor of Minnesota. I'd kind of like to be your VP. Would you like me to be one heartbeat away from the presidency? All right, let me make an awkward phone call tomorrow and we'll cement this deal.
I just can't tell if they did anything even resembling due diligence. You have to assume the Democrat machine usually is decent enough at Oppo. So even on the shortened time scale, they must have looked some of this up. I can't tell what is worse. If the Democrats did figure out all the really awful stuff about Tim Walz, that he embraces the socialist label, that he allowed his chief city, Minneapolis, to burn down on his watch. In some ways, he seemed to encourage it, that he put tampons in the fourth grade boys' bathrooms, that he wanted to make his state a sanctuary, a refuge for the kids. This is not only a ghastly phenomenon, but also a deeply politically unpopular phenomenon. Did the Democrats know that and say, let's go ahead anyway, Kamala's going to run to the left? Or did the Democrats just totally drop the ball and miss out on all of this oppo? The stolen valor, which is now J.D. Vance is now bringing to the fore here. It seems like whatever dirt there was on Josh Shapiro and Mark Kelly, it's hard to imagine it's anything even close to what we're seeing now with Tim Walz.
Yeah, that's the thing, though, Michael, is they always say that they wanted a do no harm, a safe candidate. I honestly, I've said this before this week. The audience knows this. If Shapiro had gotten the nod, which I kind of still thought was the smart one, I agree with you, 19 electoral votes. Maybe he didn't win Pennsylvania, but I just did a map of 270, and I show, like, Pennsylvania, you take those 19 electoral votes off the map, and it changes everything big time, right? But the thing that's so fascinating to me about this is that he does do harm. Like I feel like when I saw your tweets, when I saw the Daily Wire's tweets, when I saw the content that your colleague Ben Shapiro put out and that you put out, the other folks at the Daily Wire, the Daily Caller, Breitbart, the conservative ecosphere, was like, oh, this is easy. There's the target. Let's hit it. Bathroom, tampons, transgender, immigration, stolen valor. It was like, seriously, are we being pranked here? Is there a camera? Are we being punked? This isn't the real guy. Because this guy made it so much easier for us. I honestly, to your point, like Eric Holder ran the vetting and the operation for this. And I'm going, do I question his abilities now?
Right. Of course. I mean, as you know, Sean, you've been in Republican politics a long time. There's one state that Reagan didn't win in 1984. And actually, one time Ed Rollins told me that he thinks they actually did win it, but that's a story for another time. Reagan officially wins 49 states. The one state that Mondale wins is Minnesota. So this is not exactly a swing state. This is deep blue, and Kamala leans into it. The reason it's such a loss, and this gets to what you were just talking about, is Kamala's kind of hard to pin down. On the one hand, she's the most radical member of the Senate while she's in that body. She's to the left of Bernie Sanders. On the other hand, she's the establishment Democrat par excellence, very much in line with Joe Biden in that she's kind of an empty suit. She'll say whatever she needs to say. One day she wants to bail out rioters. The next day she's the tough prosecutor. She'll blow with the wind as a politician. So it's hard to pin down exactly what she is. With this pick, she's given Republicans this gift to say, okay, Kamala is running as a radical. Her running mate and she at times have embraced some of the least popular policies in the country. Give us your best, Republicans.
All right, so I think you kind of just answered what I was going to ask you, but I want to flesh this out for a second. I felt like we were floundering. And by we, I don't mean me and I don't mean you, but I think a lot of folks in the movement, I've made this very clear. This is a simple campaign. She's nutty liberal, radical, clueless, you name it. And just stick to that. The American people may not like everything that Trump stands for personally, but they like his policies. She's crazy leftist. She just doubled down on leftists. To me, this is again, same thing like with Walz's. We know where the target is fire. What do you think we need to do as a movement now to focus, to get this on Kamala? Because I'm not so concerned. I'm not so convinced, rather, that most people care about VPs, right? They don't even know who Tim Walz is. We kind of started to define him. They'll define him. But at the end of the day, I mean, do you really care? Are you going to vote because of the VP on either side? How do we now utilize this moment of reset to really hone in on her, the top of the ticket?
Well, I think we look at where they're most sensitive. I think we read the New York Times, actually, and try to figure out what only rarely. Only in August of an election year, then we can throw it away again. But you can see where they get real sensitive. When Trump and Vance pointed out that Kamala was the border czar, the New York Times and all the rest of them went into overdrive to memory hole that fact from history. Now, of course, we have official White House transcripts. We have video of Joe Biden saying, Kamala, you are in charge of the border. You have presidential authority. Whatever you want to do, fix the border problem. And of course, she failed at that. We have...
No, did she? Did she, Michael? I mean, I'm being serious. I think our side, she failed at it. And I know that on their side, they're like, wink, nod. Good job, Kamala. More guys got in.
That's right. I guess the only way to know if someone fails is to know what they're trying to accomplish.
But think about this. I don't mean to get you off track, but you just picked a VP candidate who said, if the wall's 29 feet, I want to invest in a ladder company that sells 30-foot ladders.
Right.
I mean, honestly, that doesn't sound like somebody that wants to be tough on the border. That sounds like, hey, someone going, hey, he wants a ladder factory to let more people in. He's on Team Kamala.
No, of course. And so in Kamala's defense, really there was nothing that she wanted to do or that she could do on the border because there's nothing that Alejandro Mayorkas wants to or can do on the border because the Biden administration and the Democrats want illegals to flood across the border. They just don't want to take responsibility for it. So this is why the New York Times and all the rest of them were denying this immediately. They said, no, she was not the border czar. She had nothing to do with the border. No, how dare you bring this up? So I think obviously you hit that. All the polls show that immigration is a major concern for Americans. So I think you... Sorry,
so the thing is, she says, I wasn't the border czar. I was just supposed to get to the root causes. And my point is, okay, fine. Then you didn't get to that either. I mean, it's like she wants to say, okay, well, I wasn't really, okay, but what were you in charge of? Well, I was supposed to get to the root causes. Well, the border chief says they never met with you. The presidents of the countries from where immigration comes, Honduras, El Salvador, say they never met with you. You never talked to them. So you didn't, I mean, no matter where you pivot, the answer is still you failed.
That's a great point. You could just ask the question, okay, so how did you attempt to get to the root causes? And she'll go on about being unburdened by what has been or whatever other kind of nonsense. So I think you point to that. I think you can point to the faltering economy, which previously was difficult because the market was doing so well, but the market seemed disconnected from the fundamentals of the economy. And now after this jobs report on Friday, I think you're seeing the market finally come back to reality and say, yikes, 113,000 jobs created in July. Analysts were predicting 175,000 jobs. Yikes, energy's looking pretty rough. Plus, we might have another outbreak of a major war in the Middle East, major wars that were brought about because of the failure of leadership of Biden and Harris. So I think you can point to a lot of these issues which are connected. In fact, J.D. Vance did this very well the other day in front of reporters. He connected the immigration issue with the housing issue. He says, yeah, there's a shortage of housing. What do you think happens when you bring 11 million people into your country? They're going to be competing for housing. These issues are not just in compartments. The strange fact, though, right now, and I'm not quite sure how Republicans figure this out, is when the market took a hit some days ago, it was striking because for the first time in my life, I couldn't figure out who exactly we're supposed to blame. I guess you would blame the president. The buck is supposed to stop with the president, but no one really believes that Biden is effectively the president anymore. So then do we blame the vice president? Well, as we've just pointed out, every task that Kamala's been given in the White House, she's failed to do, to even down to connecting rural Americans with high-speed internet. It's something Biden told her to do during the 2021 State of the Union. So no one's seriously blaming Kamala. It's just, we're just kind of blaming this blob. We're kind of blaming this Democrat machine. And so really, this was the advice Vivek Ramaswamy gave in the early days of the Kamala takeover. You can't pivot and say, Biden's the worst person on earth. Oh, actually, today, Kamala's the worst person on earth. It's going to look a little disingenuous and reactive. Really, we're not so much running against the particulars of Kamala Harris or even the particulars of Joe Biden. I don't know if he knows his own name anymore. We're running against this machine that they represent as the empty suits. And so it is their policies, it is their failures, it is their incompetence, but it's really bigger than them. And so you lump in Tim Walz in there, you lump in Mayor Pete and the rest of the Biden flunkies. These policies have failed. The Americans know it. The fact that the best the Democrats can come up with to punch back at Trump and Vance is that J.D. Vance is supposedly weird, some third grade taunt, shows you that the issues are on our side. We just need to actually get past the establishment media and get that in front of the American people.
Well, if you enjoyed this content, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and click the notification bell to get more.